It's Friday night, and you just got paid. You sit down, pull out your phone, and start dividing everything up. 50% to bills and groceries, 30% to that dinner you've been planning, maybe new shoes. 20% goes straight to savings. You feel good about it, organized, in control. Then Monday hits. Your car needs new tires. $400 you didn't plan for. By Wednesday, you're pulling from that 20% you just saved. By next Friday, you're back to square one, wondering why this budgeting thing everyone swears by isn't working for you. You're doing everything right, following the formula, but somehow you're still stuck in the same place, month after month. Here's the thing, though. The 50-30-20 rule was built for a different world, a world where rent didn't eat up half your income, a world where one trip to the grocery store didn't feel like a major expense, a world where healthcare, student loans, and subscriptions weren't bleeding you dry before you even get to think about saving. The economy shifted. Costs exploded. But that rule, it stayed the same. And that's exactly why you're struggling. Now, most people will tell you to just cut back more, sacrifice harder. But that's not the real problem here, and I'm going to show you exactly what is. I'm Raul, and I've spent years working with people just like you. Folks who are doing everything by the book but still can't get ahead. And if you stick with me here, I'm going to break down what actually works in today's economy, not some outdated formula from decades ago. Hit that subscribe button right now because what I'm about to share is going to completely change how you see your money. And trust me, you're going to want to come back to this. All right, so let's talk about what you probably think budgeting is. You've heard it a million times. Control your spending, track every dollar, make a plan, and stick to it. And yeah, that sounds great in theory. But here's what actually happens in real life. You make your budget. You feel motivated. You tell yourself this month is going to be different. Then life happens. Your phone breaks. Your kid needs something for school. Your dog gets sick. Suddenly, your perfect budget is worthless, and you're back to just surviving, not thriving. Sound familiar? Now, here's where most advice gets it completely wrong. They tell you the problem is discipline, that you're not trying hard enough. But that's garbage. The real issue is that you're using a system designed for someone else's life, not yours. Think about it like this. Imagine you're trying to build a house, but someone hands you a blueprint for a boat. Doesn't matter how hard you work or how many hours you put in, you're never going to end up with a house. That's exactly what's happening when you try to force the 50-30-20 rule into a world where it doesn't fit anymore. Let me paint a picture for you. Back when this rule was created, the average rent was about 25% of someone's income. Today, it's closer to 40, even 50% in some cities. Groceries? They've doubled in price over the last few years. Gas, insurance, utilities, they've all skyrocketed. But your paycheck? That's barely moved. So when someone tells you to put 50% toward needs, 30% toward wants, and 20% toward savings, they're living in a fantasy. Because for most people today, just covering the basics already takes 70, sometimes 80% of what they make. The math just doesn't add up anymore. So here's the analogy. Imagine you're at a restaurant and the waiter brings you a plate. But instead of the meal you ordered, it's a meal from 30 years ago. The portion sizes are different. The ingredients are different. It's not what you need right now. You can sit there and try to force yourself to eat it, or you can send it back and ask for what actually works for you today. That's what budgeting has become, an outdated meal that doesn't satisfy your actual hunger. And the solution isn't to eat less or try harder. It's to change the whole approach. What you really need is a budget that's flexible, one that acknowledges that life is unpredictable and that your income and expenses aren't always going to fit into neat little percentages. Instead of splitting everything up front, you need a system that prioritizes what matters most first, then adjusts based on what's left. Pay yourself first, not last. Cover your true essentials, the ones that keep you afloat, then build from there. It's not about perfect percentages. It's about survival and growth in a world that's constantly shifting. But why does this even matter? Why do we keep falling for these outdated rules? Here's the psychology behind it. We crave simplicity. We want someone to hand us a formula and say, do this, and you'll be fine. It's comforting. It takes the guesswork out. But the truth is, personal finance isn't one size fits all. Never has been. The 50-30-20 rule became popular because it's easy to remember, not because it's effective for everyone. And companies, banks, influencers, they keep pushing it because it sounds good. It makes you feel like you're in control, even when you're not. And here's the kicker. The system is designed to keep you in this loop. Think about it. If you're always struggling to save, always living paycheck to paycheck, who benefits? Credit card companies, lenders, subscription services. They thrive on you not having a cushion, because that's when you're most likely to borrow, to pay interest, to stay locked into their ecosystem. The 50-30-20 rule isn't failing you by accident. It's failing you because the world around it has changed and no one's told you to stop using it. Let me give you a quick example. Let's say you make $4,000 a month. According to the 50-30-20 rule, you'd put $2,000 toward needs, $1,200 toward wants, and $800 toward savings. But let's be real. Your rent alone is probably $1,500. Add in utilities, insurance, groceries, transportation, and you're already over $2,000. So now you're dipping into that 30% for wants just to cover basics. And that 20% for savings? Forget about it. It's gone before you even think about it. You're not bad with money. The system just doesn't fit your reality. Now let's flip the script. Imagine instead of percentages, you start with priorities. First, you cover your absolute essentials: rent, food, transportation, insurance. Whatever's left, you put toward an emergency fund until you hit at least 1 month of expenses saved. Not wants, not extra stuff, just a buffer. Once you have that, then you start thinking about discretionary spending and long-term savings. It's not flashy. It's not a perfect formula, but it's real, it's adaptable, and most importantly, it actually works. Here's another layer to this. A lot of people don't realize that the 50% for needs doesn't account for debt. Student loans, car payments, credit cards, those aren't technically needs in the traditional sense, but they're non-negotiable. You can't just skip them. So if you're paying $500 a month in student loans and another $300 for a car, that's already a huge chunk of your income gone before you even start budgeting. The 50-30-20 rule doesn't make room for that reality. It assumes you're starting from a clean slate, but most people aren't. And let's talk about wants for a second. 30% sounds generous, right? But what even counts as a want anymore? Is your phone bill a want? What about internet? You need it to work, to apply for jobs, to function in modern society. Streaming services? Sure, those are wants. But what about the gym membership that keeps you sane? The therapy sessions that keep you mentally healthy? The line between needs and wants has blurred so much that trying to separate them into rigid categories just doesn't make sense anymore. This is where the real shift needs to happen. Instead of asking, is this a need or a want, start asking, does this move me forward or keep me stuck? Does this expense help me build stability, or is it just filling a temporary gap? That's the mindset shift that actually changes things, because once you start evaluating your spending based on impact instead of category, you start making smarter choices without even realizing it. And here's the thing that nobody talks about. Saving 20% is great if you can do it. But for most people, especially if you're starting from zero, it's just not realistic. The pressure to hit that number makes you feel like a failure when you can't, and that mental block keeps you from saving anything at all. But what if instead of 20%, you started with 5, or even 2? What if the goal wasn't to hit a perfect number, but just to build the habit? Because once you have that habit, once you see that savings account grow, even by a little, that momentum builds. And that's when real change starts to happen. So let's bring this all together. You've been told your whole life that budgeting means following a formula. That if you just divide your money the right way, everything will work out. But that's not true. Not anymore. The world has changed, costs have exploded, incomes have stagnated, and the old rules just don't apply. But here's what does: flexibility, prioritization, building systems that adapt to your life, not the other way around. Paying yourself first, even if it's a small amount. Covering your true essentials before anything else. And most importantly, giving yourself permission to let go of the guilt when you can't hit those perfect percentages. You're not failing because you're bad with money. You're struggling because you're trying to fit into a system that was never built for the reality you're living in. And once you realize that, once you give yourself permission to build a budget that actually works for your life, that's when things start to shift. You stop feeling stuck. You stop living paycheck to paycheck. You start seeing progress, real progress, not just on paper, but in your actual bank account. And here's the mindset you need to carry forward. Budgeting isn't about restriction. It's not about depriving yourself or living like you're broke even when you're not. It's about clarity. It's about knowing exactly where your money is going and making sure it's working for you, not against you. It's about building a foundation that can handle life's punches without crumbling. Because emergencies will happen, unexpected expenses will pop up. But when you have a system that's flexible, when you've built even a small cushion, those things become manageable instead of catastrophic. Stop chasing percentages that don't fit your life. Stop feeling guilty for not saving 20% when your rent alone takes half ye see. Our income. Start building a system that prioritizes stability first, growth second. And remember, progress isn't about perfection. It's about moving forward, even if it's just one small step at a time. You've got this, and now you know exactly what to do.